All right, moving on. Well, a day after a mob tried to enter the Indian High Commission in Dhaka, India's Assistant High Commission in Rajshahi, Bangladesh, has also been targeted. Radical protests have attempted to march inside the mission. This has led the Indian visa application centers in Khulna and Rajshahi to shut down. The protesters have also been heard warning bloodshed and said that they would take up swords if necessary. The protests have come after a BCP leader openly called to separate seven sisters from India, and the Bangladesh envoy was summoned by the Ministry of External Affairs to send a firm message to Bangladesh. But the Yunus government continues to be a bystander, putting the lives at the Indian High Commission at great peril. How should the Indian government respond to this is the big question that we're going to discuss with our guest. Joining us on the platform at this point in time is Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, also joins us on the show. Major General Sudhakarji, Senior Geopolitical and Strategic Defence Expert, with us on the program. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Rabindra Sachdev, International Affairs Expert, also with us on the broadcast. All right, Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you. In fact, in the words of Dr. Tharoor, this is perhaps the biggest ordeal or the toughest phase that India and Bangladesh have been in since the 1971 war. What do you make of what's happening here, and how can India or how should India respond at this point in time? So far, everything is being done diplomatically.
Look, the fact about the matter is that in India, we have had kinetic wars with both Pakistan and China, and a kinetic war in 1971, which resulted in the liberation of Bangladesh. Unfortunately, it's been deliberated by a group of extremists whose cover boy is Muhammad Yunus. The reality is that Bangladesh is going the Pakistan way. It is rapidly descending downhill. There was a time when Bangladesh was the success story of South Asia, where economic growth was concerned. Very high metrics, very high growth. Of course, I must admit that Sheikh Hasina ruled abysmally badly in her third term, and that created a lot of anger. But the problem is that the remedy has been worse than the disease. And today what's happening, the new government there is basically destroying the economy of Bangladesh. And by the way, the economy of Bangladesh depends very heavily on India and destroying good relations with India, which were there since the 1971 war. But I must say that I am perplexed by this. But I want to say that as far as India is concerned, withdrawing diplomats is a good idea. Cutting down visa services is a good idea. And I would like to point out that in India, diplomats are in perfect safety. Even diplomats that belong to unfriendly countries are in safety. And the same goes for the Bangladesh High Commission as well. I think that's a good record. We don't need to destroy that record, but we do need to cut down the consular services and visa services to a minimum, because the problem is several of those who go to Bangladesh on visas, they go there to get indoctrinated and come back and become, unfortunately, complicit as accomplices in attempts at terror attacks. Fortunately, very few of those attacks succeed, but still, even unfortunately, out of several, very many attacks, one or two succeed. And that, unfortunately, is a situation. The security forces have to be 100% accurate. And let's be honest, no one in this world is 100% accurate. Thank you, Vineet.
You're absolutely right, sir. And in fact, I'm going to take a leaf out of what you have said. And it's very, very important. And that is also perhaps a premise and context of the conversation that we are trying to have, Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee. That is Bangladesh on the anvil, on the verge of becoming another Pakistan. And if so, what does India need to do to prepare?
Well, there are elections coming up in February. I don't think the Jamaat is going to get a big victory. I think BNP will win. We have dealt with BNP earlier, so and we've kept our contacts open with the BNP. So I think that there are a lot of forces at play over here. As far as Khulna and Rajshahi is concerned, Vineet, these are isolated places. Our diplomats are in great danger. We must shut them down and move them to Dhaka, and we should stop all consular services in Khulna and Rajshahi. We must cut down on consular services in general, which we had reopened a couple of months ago, and we must demand the Bangladesh High Commission here also withdraw some of their diplomats. We don't need their consular services, they need our consular services. Secondly, let us not forget that we have been very vigorously taking out illegal Bangladeshi immigrants. You would be amazed if I tell you how many of them were in South Delhi, where I stay, or in Gurugram, where I have an apartment, and they have all been sent back, barring a few. This has been very effective in ensuring the security of our metropolitan cities, because we can't depend on such people. And this West Bengal state government has not opposed these measures, which is also very interesting. They understand that it's a question of national security. Under these circumstances, Vineet, I would say that we called in the Bangladeshi High Commissioner. We told him there are certain acts which are not acceptable. Now they are saying they're going to take up swords. If some mad mob gets into our consulate, nobody will be safe. Under those circumstances, I'm sure we've taken remedial measures. The other thing that we used to do in Afghanistan, for instance, in earlier times, I recall, when my batchmate was ambassador there and he survived an assassination attempt, we sent in Indo-Tibetan border police commandos to look after the security of the mission, our mission in Kabul. I remember it very well. And in fact, when the attack took place, a diplomat at first secretary level was blown up, died, unfortunately, a young life lost. So we should send in commandos to look after the security of our High Commission in Dhaka, and we should immediately shut down Khulna and Rajshahi. If you look at their location on the map beneath, in case you haven't been to Bangladesh, these are isolated places. These are places where it is very easy to corner them and to have a massacre over there. We don't need any consular services for them. Just shut it down. Reduce their consular services. It will bring them to their senses. And as far as the Bangladeshis talking about cutting off the chicken's neck, etc. are concerned, well, if that's one case of ingratitude, that we saved them from genocide of the Pakistani army, then kept their 90,000 POWs fed on biryani and excellent food at our expense, did not insist on war crimes tribunals and send them all back to Pakistan, is a lesson to us, Vineet, that it's time that this country also understands its history so that history does not repeat itself. That was the right time for us to secure the chicken's neck. We did not do so, and now we can see the evil fruits of what we have harvested. This is a harvesting of all the mistakes that we committed post 1971. But I can assure you, as somebody whose ancestors have come from Dhaka, Bikrampur, East Bengal, we called it, now Bangladesh, that these people are in great danger, our people. We must immediately move them out, and we must send commandos to look after the security of our diplomats, either at their residences or in the office, and if necessary, cut down some of our own diplomatic presence and send back equal number of Bangladeshi diplomats here back to Dhaka. That is what my recommendation would be. And I don't want to underestimate on national television the actual danger. Since they've said they're going to go after them with swords, there is an extreme danger to our diplomats and local staff who are there looking after them.
You're quite right, man. General Sudhakarji, you know, when Sheikh Hasina was around, the friendship between India and Bangladesh, was something to write home about. It's deteriorated so fast, the decadence has been so swift. that it seems that building back to that erstwhile relationship that India had with Bangladesh is going to take time. Put that into context, sir. That's not even started as yet, and you're already seeing these marches on the road towards the Indian High Commission. How volatile and dangerous is this situation, and will diplomacy help? Does India need to flex some muscles now? We haven't done that so far.
Yeah, Vineet, good evening. Thank you for getting me for your show, and compliments to very distinguished co-panelists. Very, very important question. It has got subparts. If you allow me, let me dilate quickly, very quick reflections. The situation is extremely volatile. We must know that 12th February, the date of election they have announced. Along with the date of election, the interim government also has stated that a referendum will be carried out. More than the election, I feel the referendum is very, very objectionable, because it is the main objective of the referendum is to go in for reforms and also address those deficiencies which the student agitation felt in July 2024, that the wings have to be clipped, wings of the executive have to be clipped. When they talk about wings of the executive to be clipped, it is the extreme powers which they felt Sheikh Hasina exercised that must be curbed by making some amendments in the constitution, carrying out reforms. A reform cannot be done by an interim government. It has to be done by an elected government. I personally feel this itself is going to put everything into a huge jeopardy, because it is going to be based on the July Charter. That is one. Second point is, it's already becoming very hostile and volatile. Three stakeholders, they have come into forefront. One is the BNP, second is Jamaati, third is we have the NCP. Now, NCP and BNP, they have had an arch rivalry against Awami League. Now that Awami League has been banned to participate, and they have also threatened to go onto the street and protest. Incidentally, the TRP or the popularity of the Awami League, which earlier used to be around 52 to 56%, has shot up and is touching something around 65 to 66% across the country. If this be corroborated and if this is actually accurate, this 66% is a huge percentage which can actually destabilize entire Bangladesh. And last but not the least in this part is Turkey has promised to give, after the drones, there are some tanks which are under movement from Turkey coming to Bangladesh to be deployed along the India-Bangladesh border. Well, if they can deploy tanks, India has proven its credibility and military might, being the fourth largest armed forces power as per the firepower index given by SIPRI in 2025 in Operation Sindoor. And if push comes to shove, Indian armed forces is simply waiting for the trigger. So towards this end, allow me to say, since it is already there in the open media, I will not be going beyond the brief. India has gone in for establishing three important military stations. These are capable of multi-domain operations. One is Lachit Barphukan military station at close to Dhubri. This military station has got the capability. Just those of us who are not oriented, they should look at the map. From this military station, if you cut across the line to South Dinajpur, this is a beautiful chicken neck that we don't generally talk about. They may be talking about Siliguri corridor, so this is one. Second, we have is Kishanganj, Bihar, a new military station has started coming up. Third is Chopra in West Bengal. All these things, without going into the military intricacies, I would share with the viewers that they have been done to a plan by a design of an operation. And the design of operation is not supposed to be discussed in the open media like this platform. Suffice to say, our armed forces, the government of India is seized with the problem, and if one would have heard about the unknown gunman, not that I am saying it is being steered by India, one doesn't know who these people are, and there are number of personalities who have been neutralized in past couple of days, whether talking about ISI, talk about the USS Special Forces, talk about the other elements. Who is doing it, one really doesn't know. So suffice to indicate and suggest that while situation may be very volatile and heading towards extremely, I would say, unmanageable thing, what is it that Yunus looking for? As per my assessment, as a student of geopolitics, I feel that Yunus is being driven by elements of Muslim Brotherhood, which nobody is talking, no media platform is touching upon the issue. Muslim Brotherhood, though it has been banned by some of the important stakeholders in the Arabic nations, yet it is through, with the help of Qatar, is playing merry hell in countries like Bangladesh, trying to become a new epicenter of terrorism.
All right.
Turkey is taking advantage of Qatar and trying to
All right, fair enough, sir.
destabilize.
We have a paucity of time. I also want to bring in Mr. Ravinder Sachdev into this conversation. Mr. Sachdev, the situation looks quite bleak at this point in time. It's also bleak because considering the fact that the political instability in Bangladesh is only precipitating and making matters worse.
Thank you so much. Very the pleasure, and with such wise minds as Ambassador Mukherjee, Professor Nalapat, and of course General Sudhakar, I think we each kind of approach the situation from our perspectives, and that's how the collective or some nuance these things. I absolutely, I think all of us agree on this panel that the security of our diplomats is absolutely paramount, should be. So if in Khulla, remote regions and all, it's the commandos be needed, boom, boom, boom. Security, that is one. But secondly now, the overarching, scenario which is out there, I'll start with the end game in a sense. I don't think we want a war. I do not think, I may be very mistaken, that India will go to war with Bangladesh. The idea is open to the, panel. But yes, we have that firepower as General Sudhakar mentions, right? So war is out. That simply is outrageous to even think of, whatever. The other thing is that, okay, where is Bangladesh headed and our relations? It seems that I'm really surprised if the Awami League has 65% or 66% popular support in Bangladesh. I don't know. The numbers may be coming from wherever. I would love to know, the deeper details, but I absolutely do not think so. What seems, as an outsider, I don't have the data, is that in Bangladesh, the majority opinion in Bangladesh, public opinion, is anti-India right now. Be it BNP, with whom we have worked, had a working relationship, yes. But generally, slightly there. Or be it the interim government, or be it the Jamaat. Jamaat has 20% or so support, which it always had, and the student leaders. Sheikh Hasina is radioactive. In fact, that's part of the reason I think that we are facing this anti-India sentiment. Sure, there are multiple components to it. Folks in Bangladesh blame India for supporting Sheikh Hasina, which enabled Sheikh Hasina to carry out some of her oppressive measures also. And by the way, it's a fact. In Bangladesh, it has been a routine. Khalida Zia came, they hounded Sheikh Hasina and a party. Politicians arrested, taken bomb attacks, grenade attacks, including attack on Sheikh Hasina way back in 2000 mids, whatever, right? Sheikh Hasina came to power, she did the same. There have been kidnappings, there have been murders, etc. So, it's not all milky white. So, what's happening from what I understand in Bangladesh is that folks in Bangladesh blame India for supporting Hasina because they think Sheikh Hasina carried out those their perceived injustices because she had the support of India. That's the narrative there, right or wrong, that's the narrative. Now, given that, it's complicated, I would feel, and I would say. Also, I would sometimes think of a parallel to Maldives, though this is not a parallel. Maldives for a year or two was India out, India this, that, etc. But India maintained its calm, poise. Sure, we took some hits. And I do think that, in a geopolitical sense, we are the big player in the region. It may be that we have to have more perseverance and, ability to take some hits. But in the interest of a longer game, we cannot, I don't think we want to convert Bangladesh into a Pakistan. The way things are heading right now, Bangladesh will be a Pakistan.
All
we
right.
should. I think all our efforts at diplomacy and whatever the way we manage, would be and should be that it's not about ego, you did and tit for tat, boom, boom, boom. Okay, tit
I hear
for
you.
tat, we
I
can
hear
do
you, Mr.
multiple
Sisdev.
things.
But unfortunately, we've run out of time. We have to take a mandatory break at this point in time. But of course, all the concerns put out by our panelists are extremely important, and they will, in fact, be used to figure out how we deal with the country of Bangladesh. We'll take a short break. Be right back.